What's going on, guys? My name is Matt, and if you're in the need for a new graphics card under $100, you really don't have many options. The only real option available is the GT 1030 for around $75, but that all changes today. As you probably know, I'm a big proponent for used PC hardware, but many of you out there want nothing to do with used PC parts, and I get it. It's totally understandable why someone might choose a new component over a used one, even if it means a considerably higher price tag. But if you're on a tight budget, it can be hard to find good price to performance new parts. So I was looking for deals about a week ago and stumbled across a bunch of listings for brand new OEM HP RX 460s for as low as $55 buy it now, and there are tons of them available. There are currently 6 or so listings for these cards, all of which state they have more than 10 available. What I decided to do is pick one of these up and compare it to a GT 1030 to see if it stacks up to the go-to new GPU under $100. Now, looking at this card in its cooler, it doesn't look great and kind of looks like it might be a cut down or slower version of the RX 460. But as you'll see in the benchmarks, that's definitely not the case. When the RX 460 came out in late 2016, it seemed to be a great option for budget gamers, especially considering the fact it only uses power from the PCIe slot itself. Now, I'm assuming this HP variant was used in HP pre-builds, but I don't really know why all of these have hit the market. If you guys have any guesses, let me know in the comment section down below. So before I get into the benchmarks, let's talk about what reasons someone would consider getting a GT 1030 over this card. Well, the GT 1030 uses about half the power at only 35 watts, and it comes in low profile single slot variants, making it have almost universal compatibility. While this RX 460 should work with most systems, the fact it's a full height card does rule it out from being used in a half height tower like many of the pre-builds you come across. Also, the RX 460 has been known to have some compatibility issues with older pre-builds, whereas the 1030 has pretty much universal compatibility. The version of the GT 1030 I have is this MSI variant. While it is passively cooled, it's still clocked and performs exactly the same as the rest of the GT 1030s in MSI's lineup. Also, something important to note is that this is a GDDR5 version. If you don't know, this past summer, Nvidia silently released a DDR4 version of this card for the same price, and in my testing, I found that it's half the performance of a GDDR5 version. So if you are in the market for a GT 1030, please get the GDDR5 version. Both this card and the 460 have 2 GB of video memory, which for entry-level gaming I've found works perfectly fine. Going into a little more detail about the RX 460 I have, like I said, it's an HP OEM card with a red PCB and a very basic heatsink. In terms of video outputs, it has HDMI, DVI, and DisplayPort, which means it should work with most any monitor. This card's definitely ugly in my opinion, but at this price, if it performs good, then it really doesn't matter. For testing, I tested 5 games with varying levels of system requirements. These include Far Cry 5, GTA 5, Rainbow Six Siege, Fortnite, and PUBG. For the test system, I used my standard 1700X based test bench with 16 GB of memory, which while very overkill for these cards, it does make sure the GPU is the limiting factor in these tests. Starting off with Far Cry 5, a new and pretty hard to run AAA title, I used the built-in benchmark at 1080p low settings. The GT 1030 gave an average of 28 FPS while the RX 460 had an average of 43. This is a 53% increase in performance over the 1030 and makes it a more playable experience. Moving on to Rainbow Six Siege, a popular first-person shooter, I tested both of these cards in-game at 1080p medium settings. Both of these cards provided a decent experience, with the 1030 having an average of 58 FPS and the RX 460 having an average of 75 FPS, which is a 29% increase in performance. Next up is PUBG, another pretty difficult to run game. I tested both of these cards on the same map at 1080p low settings. The 1030 produced an average of 32 FPS, while the RX 460 produced an average of 43. This gave the 460 a 34% increased performance over the 1030. The next game tested was Fortnite, which at 1080p with scaled down competitive settings, both of these cards offered a decent experience. The 1030 had an average of 60 FPS, while the RX 460 had an average of 81. This was a 35% increase in performance. Finally, the last game tested was GTA 5 using the built-in benchmark with what I would consider medium settings. The 1030 had a 54 FPS average and the 460 had a 72 FPS average. This was a 33% increase in performance for the 460. On average, across all 5 games, the RX 460 gave 37% more performance over the GT 1030, which is a considerable boost in FPS, which in many games could be the difference between a game being playable and unplayable. As you can see, these new RX 460s at $60 or less are an insane value for the money. If your system supports this 460 and you're considering a 1030, I would highly recommend looking at this card. I'll have links to multiple listings for these new RX 460s in the description down below. I hope this video will help some of you out there who are on a tight budget who want new components. If you guys have any questions about this card that I didn't cover in the video, make sure to leave them in the comment section down below. So yeah guys, I think this wraps this video up. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up, as well as consider subscribing for more PC and tech related content in the future. And as always, this is Matt from Tech by Matt, signing out.